Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Two Tired Parents podcast. I'm Myles Weber.
I'm Heather Weber.
We are two tired parents.
We are.
Very much so. Not as much today. I mean, but yesterday, dear God.
It's weird because we didn't get that much more sleep last night.
We didn't,
than
no.
We did the night before.
We didn't get that much sleep. But I think, like, this morning we agreed to go out and sit on the couch
And
that
just sleep
reclines.
there.
And we slept there for like a half hour, and that felt amazing.
It did. Because that's where I'm at, is recliner sleep. It's
Yes.
just more comfortable.
It's just more comfortable.
right
That's where you're at in the
now.
pregnancy, is recliner sleep.
Yep.
We do have a special guest today.
We do.
Very
Our
excited.
first guest.
Our first guest for this podcast, to have him on. He is a good friend of mine. He's a very funny stand-up comedian. He is the stepdad of comedy. I would like to introduce you to my good friend, John Lear.
Hey, everybody. How are you? Good to see you.
Yeah. How you doing, man? Thanks
I'm
for
doing
coming.
great, man. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. Absolutely. You have two kids.
I do.
How old are they?
They are 30 and 28.
Okay. Right on. Fantastic. Okay. So, I mean, like, this is going to be good because we kind of get a little bit of a sampling from a different time because we have a toddler and your kids were toddlers when? Like, we're talking early or mid 90s.
I was told there would be no math.
Well, I mean, we may have lied a little bit.
So they were born 94, 96.
Okay, so we're talking like late part of the 90s
Okay.
was when you were in Toddlerville. Now, because this is something that we've been going through a lot recently with our son is, I mean, we have movie nights once a week as best we try. And so, but inversely, kids' movies are on the rotation pretty regularly for us, I'd say. What were some of the kids' movies when you were in Toddlerville of your own household? Were there any that were a constant? Like, what are your thoughts on some of them, if you have any?
Well, I was a big animation guy. I still am. I still love anything that's animated. And so we saw all of the Disney stuff. We would bring it. I would have them watch the older stuff a lot, like Jungle Book. From 1967, the year I was born, you know. So I was big on bringing them the classics back when we were shoving VHS cassettes into the thing.
Yeah.
So we did a lot of those, mostly because we knew, you know, how it would, you know,
Play out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could handle anything that would come up. And we did Veggie Tales. I don't know if you guys know what they
we
were.
knew VeggieTales, yeah.
And at the time, we were going to church, and we were pretty into that, and not as much now. But I enjoyed it just
the
for the
hairbrush song all the time.
Right?
Still
I
to
love
this day.
Yeah.
Where is my hairbrush? I mean, yeah, you lose it a lot.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a cucumber with no hair. That makes no sense.
Yeah. I mean, very, very important. Oh,
Exactly.
VeggieTales was great. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we were because we were both went to religious schools.
We did. Yeah.
Until we were of the proper age to outgrow that belief.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but yeah, no, VeggieTales was definitely a thing. I would see the TV get rolled out, and I'm like, are we watching VeggieTales today? Hell yes. Like,
Yeah.
I think we may have thrown an episode on for Robin once.
We have. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it was when he was much younger.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, but we also were of those classics as well, like, you know, Jungle Book, Pinocchio, you know, all the Sleeping Beauty, things like that. Because I mean, as '90s kids, we definitely had the VHS tapes. Those were good. The Disney, the big white
You're
ones.
not actually that much older than my kids.
Oh yeah, this is true. Yeah. 36, soon to be 37, 35, soon to be 36. So yeah, not terribly much older.
Yeah. So a lot of the stuff that you were watching,
They
my
were
kids were coming in a couple of years later.
Yeah.
And catching that. Some of the stuff that I know that they watched later when they were a little bit older, and I had no clue what that stuff was, like Spy Kids and things like that. I was completely left out of all of those things. So.
Spy Kids, yes. No, we do remember Spy Kids.
I think I only watched the first one though.
Same.
I don't think I watched any of the other ones.
Yeah, no, I didn't get into the franchise or anything that had a Shark Boy or a Lava Girl in it. So, which I think later went on to be Taylor Lautner, right? Wasn't that?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was Shark Boy. So, yeah, he was in Twilight later. But yeah, no, we watched the first Spy Kids, and that kid, he ended up marrying Meghan Trainor. All about that bass. Yeah, no trouble.
amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's married to the kid from Spy Kids,
Yeah.
which is hilarious.
Yeah.
You think she was like watching him as a kid and like, I'm marrying him.
One day,
That's who I want.
the way he interacts with Antonio Banderas is chef's kiss. No notes. That's great.
Yeah.
Was there a movie they wore out a lot? Was there one that was on the regular where like the VHS was gonna break down?
Not that much. They watched. I remember they watched Phineas and Ferb on TV.
Interesting.
A lot. Both of my kids are on the spectrum, autistic wise.
Okay.
To varying degrees, and so repetition. Watching things a lot. That's kind of par for the course. So I can't really pick out anything that we didn't watch a ton of.
Okay.
So that was just normal for us.
Yeah,
Fair.
That's fair.
Fair.
Yeah.
We've been going through Ratatouille recently.
Ratatouille's been the new jam.
Yeah,
But also because Robin loves cooking,
he does.
on top of just animation. So,
Yes.
yeah, it definitely blends the two worlds together.
Absolutely.
And so I've watched it a million times with him, but Myles actually sat down for the first time last week.
To like pay attention to it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, usually it's on and like we're playing or we're doing something. Like it's just kind of background noise, and so I check in with it. But this is the first time we had a movie night where it's like, all right, let's make the popcorn, let's sit down, let's like watch it. And have you seen Ratatouille?
Oh yeah, I have huge issues with
Oh, with that movie? Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, I think we should talk about that.
It's a huge issue I have with Pixar in general.
Okay.
In that they make it super hard to be an adult around having to kill mice that are in your house because now
true.
they are
And we were
beloved friends
talking about that, yeah.
of your children, and you can't throw away a single toy because they're alive now.
Yeah.
And you can't kill ants because of Bug's life. And
Yeah.
I'm like, could you leave us something? Could you make it a little easier on the parents, man? You're really making this tough.
Spiders? I mean, like they haven't. Those are still killable, right? Like
Spiders are our friends, but I'm all for spiders. But
Fair enough.
see, they've got the whole thing the wrong way, man. It's
okay, yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
I've thought about that. I think even when Athena was over and we were watching it, I was like, now what do I do if there's a mouse in the house?
Mouse or a
Like,
rat?
He's not going to cook us dinner, so.
he's gonna try and give the mouse a cookie because of the book. Yeah, if you give
Maybe.
a mouse a
Exactly.
cookie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
not
a whole-
helpful.
No.
No, not at
and
all.
now they've got all these movies with the emotion ones.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Now we're supposed to have emotions. This
Yeah.
is not helpful for
Terrible.
somebody born in the '60s. We don't have those. So
Gives me something comparable to anger. Right?
I have
Yeah.
that. I have anger, and then I also have rage. Those are the two feelings I was allowed while growing up.
Lewis Black plays that character.
Exactly.
So,
That's-
yeah,
I understand him, and he's
That makes
only
sense.
20 years older than me, so I get it.
and lives in Napa. I
Yeah, and
think.
now the kids are like, Dad, you need to be in touch with your emotions. And I'm like, do I, though? Is that helpful? I don't know that it is. Somebody has to kill these ants.
And they're like, you stand up, you let one ant slide, then they all stand up to
who's
you.
gonna- the person without emotions is going to kill this mouse. Y'all
Very
are
true.
leaving out treats, and it's not helpful.
Very true. Very
Fair,
true.
fair,
That's
okay.
fair. That's fair. Yeah, no, he brings
Yeah.
up a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, like, yeah, the rat thing would definitely, he would just be like, but Ratatouille. And it's like, I know, but like diseases, kiddo.
Yeah.
Like, because that's the other thing with that movie is just like they have to like go in the thing to sanitize
Dishwasher,
themselves.
yeah.
They're the dishwasher, and then they sanitize themselves so that way they could properly cook. And which I appreciate as somebody with OCD, the nod of just like, okay, that's fair. Like, yeah, clean yourself, please, because
Yeah.
you're just a rat that's gonna interact with this food and then serve it. What are we doing?
Sure.
So
That's great until the kid decides this is how I'm going to wash myself while the parents are out.
This is true. This is very, very
right.
true.
Fortunately, it can't go on while they're inside. But cleanliness is also next to stupidity. So
Yeah,
who knows what might happen.
That's fair. That's fair. We'll get that on a bumper sticker and put it on our car. There is a part in Ratatouille though that I saw where I was just like, "This is ridiculous," and it's the rats are in this lady's house. They're trying to get the spices, right?
Yeah. The saffron,
Yeah, the saffron. So they're trying to get a spice.
which is like the most expensive spice that they're about to
Yeah.
just steal.
So they're-
And also usually the most expensive stripper.
Yeah, saffron, 100%. Yeah, no,
Carries over.
You've got to tip her excessively.
Yeah, cinnamon's affordable. Saffron?
Saffron,
No way.
we're taking out a second mortgage.
Because of the antidepressant studies now.
That's what it is. See,
I
exactly.
need a
And
stripper named Dopamine. Just cut to the chase.
oh man, yeah, exactly.
Coming to the stage.
It all comes back to Inside Out, and that's where we're back to the emotions now. See, it all comes back, full circles here. So they're trying to steal the saffron from the sleeping old lady in her house, and she eventually wakes up to see that there are rats in her kitchen. Now, does she get like a shoe or an object to try and hit the rats with, or shoo them out? Right? Like, I mean, you got to get them out of your house.
Well, especially because originally she just saw one.
She just saw one.
And then I think it was two, and that was it until
Then she like opens the wall and then just a ton of them come out.
No. So that was when she grabs the shotgun.
She grabs her shotgun and just loads this thing up and is just shooting it freely in her house, trying to kill these rats with the shotgun. And it's just like, bam, hole through my floor. Bam, hole through my wall. Bam, hole through my ceiling.
And so then she goes around her chandelier.
Yes.
And then the whole ceiling falls. And then that's when she sees all the rats.
All the rats are in there. And then they all come out and go outside. So she's just shooting in her house with the shotgun at the rats, like just destroying her own house. And then they escape. They all get out of the house, and then they get into like the water and stuff. She follows them outside with the shotgun. Like, I need to prove a point here. Like,
Okay, now hold on. You're from Vallejo.
that is a fact.
You know, you have to at least make a stand on your porch.
I got
Like, I
we
gotta
send a
let
message.
everybody know this and no further.
I gotta kill one of you and hang you up in front,
Absolutely.
just to show your friends.
It
what
worked for the
happens.
Kings of England, and I think it can work here.
That is a fact. That is a fact. But
Also, I think because you're from Vallejo, you're not reacting with the proper horror.
No.
At having the mice. I mean,
not at all.
mice are like, "Hey, how you doing, buddy?" You
Yeah,
know,
I'm like, what's up, man?
they
Like,
care.
no.
They do little errands for you. I get it. That's how the Ratatouille idea came about.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
Pixar's in Emeryville. They figured it out.
They
They
figured it
understand how
out.
that works. I'm
Exactly.
from Santa Rosa. We freak out.
Yeah.
We are not cool with it.
No.
When I saw that with the shotgun, I was like, "This is how we're getting rid of our rats next time for sure."
It might get into your wine collection or something.
Exactly. We
right?
can't risk
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's gonna fuck up your corks.
No.
So yeah, I wouldn't have followed them. She went and like followed them. They're in the water. She's like shooting in the water, and I'm like, what do you have to prove right now?
I
Like,
just want to know why she has that much ammunition.
she had to go through a second box
Yeah,
of bullets. She had to find her second box and just load those shells.
Now it's premeditated.
Yeah.
At first, it's just, mouse slaughter. But now it's
Premeditated.
That's a moment that
That was first-degree
conservatives
murder
dream
on that.
of is like, oh, when the rats invade. I just can't wait to empty the clip a couple of times
vermin.
over. The vermin. If
I
we
think
could
you're
put-
seeing how this subconscious thing works. Like,
yeah. Wholeheartedly. So yeah, so that was my thing. It's like with the kids' movies, like there are parts of it that you see so much that's just like, but that was a moment that I saw that I was just like, strange. Okay, right
I
on.
mean, if that's the thing you found strange of the movie. With the
I
rat
mean,
cooking.
besides the rat like helping him cook and that whole thing, but I mean, also I appreciated in the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once the callback to that on No Tiro Timeline where there was a raccoon in the guy's chef hat helping him cook, and I was like, oh, it's like Ratatouille, so perfect. So yeah, I mean, but Robin liked it, so I
Yeah.
mean,
And he's down to help me try and cook our first one next week.
oh yeah, you're gonna try and cook Ratatouille.
Asked him.
Is he going to pull your hair from the top? Or
I mean, he does that anyway.
Yeah, he does it anyway. It's gonna happen. There's not much you could do.
Yeah.
But what did you have on your list for today that we can start getting into a little bit here?
Yeah. So we are big Mel Robbins people.
We are. Yes.
So, and this past week, she released an episode with a woman named Dr. Sarah McKay,
yeah.
who is like one of the top neuroscientists, I think, in the world, and they flew her in from Australia.
Yeah.
And very amazing podcast. But she was talking about this study that I found so interesting, where it's all going over all the brain and neurodevelopment and everything. And they did a study on kids. I believe they were 5 the first time they did the study. And it's pretty much just trying to figure out like how much outside circumstances play a role, media, like everything that we're teaching our kids. And
Yeah.
so with the 5-year-olds, they had, I think, equal amount of boys and girls, and they had a picture of a man and a woman. And they asked the kids who you think the smartest is out of the two. And the girls would point to the girls, the boys would point to the boys. And then she would say, okay, now who wants to do like a really smart person activity? And everybody would raise their hand.
Who wants to play a game for smart people?
Yeah, yeah. And then they brought those same kids back when they were like between 7 and 9.
Yeah.
And they did that same study with them. And when it came down to pointing who was smarter, the boy or the girl, half the girls pointed to the guy at this time instead of the girl. And then when it came down to now who wants to do the smart activity, only I think half the girls raised their hand. And so it was very interesting her talking about how much like outside circumstances and media and just like how much teaching your kid and making them, believe a certain thing plays a role in how they demonstrate things at a very young age that I found very, very fascinating.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, yeah, I think totally. Like, you start going to school and things like that, you start getting primed to what, quote-unquote, society inevitably is teaching you are the tropes, right? About, like, well, men can do this, women can do this, but not this. And so, yeah, they came back. The girls were a lot less confident or like, oh, I wish I could do that, but I wish I could be a scientist, but I'm not a man or something like that.
She wished she wasn't good at math.
Math.
She didn't think she could be a scientist because she wasn't good at math.
She wasn't good at math. So yeah. So yeah, man, I think that is how we prime our kids is, it's important to be aware of it. And I think we're more aware of it now, which is good. But I mean, yeah, we do our best with Robin to let him know he can do hard things. And we got the girl on the way. And so we're going to have our own little case study of just like, but inversely, you being her mom, I mean, she's going to know women can do anything because, you have, in fact, done anything and everything that people will be like, you're a woman. You can't do that. Yep. So, yeah, we definitely don't uphold glass ceilings in our household. But I mean, like, what are your thoughts on like priming kids from a young age to believe certain things? Like, were there any things in your household that you kind of had to like instate in your kids or like unreinforce, as it were, in a similar vein? Like,
well, I was fortunately raised by a very strong woman who really instilled in me that sense of equality and all that. I think representation matters hugely in media and what people see and what they're exposed to and how often that gets reinforced in the day-to-day and all of that. But so much of what we noticed was, especially in areas in education, is that all of the teachers were female, all of the principals were male, all of the security guards were male. All of the ones providing service like nurses, female. All the ones overseeing those things, male. And we kept pushing against that, especially as we had to have different things going on. And we were like, how come there are no male teachers going on in this school? What's the deal?
Yeah.
Can we do some volunteer time? Is there, for the dads to come in? Like, well, dads are always busy. I'm like, I'll come in.
yeah.
I can do that. Just some kind of representation that, because I think that there is a reaction that somebody who's around a lot is nurturing and is going to be part of the thing, and somebody who is only around sometimes is more of the authority figure.
They're authoritarian, yeah.
And more authoritarian. And so if you're not present, if you're not there, then all of a sudden you come in and you make a decision where somebody else has been making 20 decisions. It's just given more weight.
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
And so, I mean, we're fortunate now in that I'm the stay-at-home now. My wife was the stay-at-home when the kids were younger.
Okay.
But, we tried to split that up as much as we could. Now she's a lawyer, and I'm a weirdo stand-up comic who is also at home with my youngest.
Yeah.
Going through their stuff. And I don't know, it was always a problem to reinforce that anybody could be anything that they wanted to be. because society didn't always back us up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that, I mean, with both of my kids becoming, trans, it's, being trans. I think of them as being trans from the get-go.
Yeah.
Is
Okay.
how my understanding of it is. So, they just took them longer to figure that out.
Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
they are and who they are in their own bodies. And I talked to both of them before coming on here.
Yeah.
And my oldest, we talked about briefly, like, did you feel that it had any impact on what you could do as a person? And no, that wasn't what it was about at all. For them, it was more about their whole body and who they wanted people to see them as. So I think I'm fortunate that my kids took away that men can be strong and smart, women can be strong and smart. Men can be caring and playful, and women, moms can be caring and playful.
Yeah.
So that was hugely instrumental, I think, in why they were able to come out
Okay.
to us,
Okay.
and why the feedback we get from a lot of stuff that they do is that there aren't always a ton of parents out there who are gung-ho and on board. And look, all I want is my kids to be happy,
Yeah.
Yeah.
find another person in their life to be happy with,
Yeah.
grow their lives, do the things they want to do, unless they don't want to be with somebody and they want to grow themselves.
Yeah.
That's great too.
Yeah.
As long as they get to where they want to be.
Yeah.
And they're happy and healthy. I mean, that's what more could a parent ask for?
For sure.
Yeah.
In your household, like with them growing up, did you guys talk about gender identity at all when they were younger, or not so much?
I was actually, and again, my oldest called me out on this. I was the one probably who was the most, I talked the most about daddy-daughter time, or dad-son stuff. And, that was a fear that they had, was I was so into the programming of language of it
Yeah.
that I would have a hard time with it. And it was an adjustment,
For sure.
for sure. But I had not even realized
Yeah.
how much of that I had done to, that's the wording of it, to reinforce all that.
Yeah.
And then once you're aware of it, you see it all the time.
Yeah.
It's like if you ever owned a VW Bug and you're driving around, now you see a bunch of VW Bugs, whereas
Yeah.
otherwise you didn't see any. You
Yeah.
didn't
Yeah.
think about it. Once you had one, now you see them.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh,
It's
I
a
see it
lot,
all the time.
very similar with having a trans kid. You're like, oh, hey, look at
Yeah.
you're living your life. Or you see instances of very specific programming words to reinforce certain gender identities.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's just part of how our society's built language-wise.
Yeah.
And so it really made me stop and think about how it is that I state things and address things.
For
And,
sure.
Totally.
yeah, the things that I'll give a masculine tone to or a female tone, feminine tone
Yeah.
to without even thinking about it.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I'm also a Californian, so we call everything dude.
Yes.
And so certain words are kind of neutral
Yes.
in that sense. But it was still something to be aware of.
That's why everybody's homie to me.
Yeah.
And,
Everybody's
I
homie.
mean, because it's gender neutral. Like,
Yeah.
everybody's the homie, and so I really leaned into that more as I started to. Because what you're speaking to is very true. Like understanding so much of the words and ways that we phrase things from a societal construct point of view that we don't even realize.
Yeah.
There was a joke that I did on my Mr. Brightside special 5 years ago about, if I want my son I want to support him as much as possible. And if he ever came to me and was like, hey, I think I want to be a lady, I'd be like, fine. And then I did a joke about it. But then I learned after that proper phrasing reinforces the concept that trans women aren't women or trans men aren't men. And so that's where that becomes problematic. And I was like, oh, bet. Okay. Like I wasn't aware of that. And so that being explained to me was really, really beneficial to be like, oh, okay. So like you had said it too, where they came out as trans. You had said that, oh, they were trans from the get.
That's how it works in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then it it helps explain to me, like, no, they were like cocoon butterfly kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Like they were never not this.
Yes.
You know, that's not how
They just
it
got
works. It's not like
comfortable
there's a
sharing it.
switch that got
Yeah.
pulled.
Yeah.
It's like they came into an understanding of themselves.
Yes.
The language became available. I think
Yeah.
100 years ago, the language wasn't available. 50 years ago, the language wasn't available. And, you know, that's to me why I get so frustrated when I see these books being taken off of shelves and things that
Yeah.
have this inclusive language to help people understand, oh, that's what I'm feeling. That's
Yeah.
me.
Yes.
Because if it's not you, you just go, huh, okay. And you move on.
Yeah.
You know, it's not hard to just be like, oh, yeah, I'm not a fireman. I don't care if I'm a fireman or not a fireman.
Right.
Move on. But clown, oh, I'm a clown.
Yeah.
I knew it. I knew it. This is exactly what I wanted to be. So,
Yeah.
You know, oh, I am a mermaid. I don't know. Whatever it is your thing is,
Yeah.
you know, that's you identify with. And the other things you just move on.
Yeah.
And so that fear that a lot of people have that if you're exposed to it, you become it, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
No.
Yeah.
My kids were exposed to all of the gender specific things as they were growing up, and they have both gone like, yeah, not for me that way. Like, yeah, cool.
Okay.
Awesome.
Did both of their journeys of coming out unfold similarly, or were they different?
They're very different.
Yeah.
They were similar in the sense that they both did it later.
Yeah.
They did it after they were out of high school.
Okay.
But with my oldest going through it first,
Okay.
and coming out and working through that, it made for a different journey for my youngest, just because, well, that path has been at least laid. Their sibling understands.
Yeah.
They have somebody to turn to.
Yeah.
Whereas my older sibling, I mean, their older sibling, you know, my older kid, didn't.
Yeah.
You know, so
There's
it
an
was
unknown variable to it.
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
and so each had their own, you know, issues and things, and that's their story. I'm not going to, I
For sure,
can't
yeah.
talk to
Yeah,
their
yeah,
story,
absolutely.
but for sure, it was a different process for each.
Okay.
I think it was, I'm not going to say easier, but it was more familiar territory as a parent. It's like, oh, okay, I at least have some of the language now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
The first time I had to go look it up,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, and I was talking to my sister about this, and we talked about how it seems like every generation more things open up,
Yeah.
and stuff that's always been there
Yep.
is finally getting to be brought to the surface.
Yes.
You know, like when my mom was growing up, you know, in the 40s and the 50s, there couldn't be interracial relationships. Those were very taboo. You know, and then in the 70s and the 80s, well, now gay, you know,
Yeah.
lesbian, you know, all that kind of stuff. So it feels like it's just as more people grow,
Yeah.
these things just kind of appear, and people are shocked by them. I'm like, no, they're always there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's
that's
just-
the funny thing, right? Because I even hear, you know, because my brother has autism, and I always hear, like, even people that, you know, want to be opposite, I guess, of just like, oh, well, autism wasn't a thing when we were growing up. It was, just maybe it wasn't diagnosed,
Maybe
But-
not. Do you have a great uncle who discovered a bug?
right?
You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
that's in my wife's family. There's a bug named after one of her uncles. Like, oh yeah, he was a little quirky. I was like, yeah, it's a family thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
so just so many things in that mental health, like you can point to a thing, and you know it's always been there, but just
Yeah.
now we have, I feel like, a bigger platform. We have
Yeah.
more resources to learn more things about it. Doctors, psychiatrists, everything like that are becoming informed of more things, and so yeah, I think there's so many more things that have always been there, like you said.
Yeah, it's
but-
like the left-handed thing.
Hey.
Yeah, right. And you're
Yeah.
left-handed.
I love that idea.
You know, but in 1910, no left-handed
No,
people.
they're like, nah.
And then they were like, oh wait, this is kind of, we shouldn't have this be a problem. So they took away some restrictions, and the left-handed skyrocketed.
Yeah.
And then it plateaued.
Yep.
And now it's where it has been for a long time, about 10% of the population. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
That's how it always was. But before they made you tie your arm around your back,
Yeah.
and
Just
do
put the
stuff. And some
pen
people
in
enjoyed
hand.
that, but other people not so much.
Not as much.
Again, back to the sexualities, and we're opening up. We're having a good
Exactly.
time with things.
Yeah, it's like if you're a half dom switch, just one
Exactly.
arm.
Just the one arm.
I'll
making
wrestle
this
you
one
with
stronger.
one arm tied
Yeah.
behind my back.
There you go.
So yeah. I mean, things you gain access, like you said, to more resources. We educate ourselves more on these things. You can then do more studies on like, okay, is there a percentage of the population where this is more of a consistency than an inconsistency? And like, oh yeah, it is, And I mean, like, yeah, you could trace trans people back, especially when you go deep back in history. Like, absolutely, it is a thing. And has been for a while. And so that's where people are just like, oh, it's just this thing's just kind of popping up now. No, that's just, we now have the interconnectedness through, like, I mean, social media ties us all together around the planet in so many ways. People can feel like, oh, I thought I was the only one, but look at all, there's a community. It's not just me and a handful of other people. There's an entire community of people who are just like me, who are feeling something similar. Or I don't feel alone in all of this. I feel seen in all of this. And so, yeah, doing what you can to educate yourself on it, be, as accepting as humanly possible, and then make the little subtle tweaks to your language and your vernacular and move forward in a supportive way.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's something you wish people would stop assuming about parents of trans kids?
It's hard because there's so many different kinds of parents, just like for any kind of kids.
For sure.
And I haven't had the same conversation with a person of trans, and when it comes up, because I'll mention it in my act, and I'll get somebody who'll come up to me afterward and go, hey, and they want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, well, cool, man. What are you doing? How's that going with you? Like, oh, well, this and this and this, and it's always something different, and they have their own different ways of dealing with it. But the question I always come back to that usually just stops the conversation is, but do you love them?
Wow.
And that's, well, yeah, of
course.
I love them. Well, then love them now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when in doubt, just be like, okay, I don't know what's happening, but I'm going to love you.
Love you
And
anyway.
I love you. And this one guy had it, a couple years ago. He had a Giants shirt on. And I was like, so, well, like, what if your kid was like, oh, I love the Dodgers. I'm going to be a Dodgers fan now, Dad. What are you going to do? What would you do? And he'd be like, oh, dude, really?
That's the deep cut.
That's the,
Oh,
no.
What? But that's how we did our things. That was our thing together, man.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, and I was like, but that doesn't change how much you love them.
No.
That just changes that interaction,
Yeah.
and
They're going to wear different things to the game now.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it's funny you say that because it kind of ties into a thing that's really been resonating with me a lot that I've been reading, where a lot of parents will try and show up for their kids as the parents that they needed as a kid and not necessarily the parents that your kid needs.
Right.
And I think that kind of ties in with that of like,
Yeah.
it seems like, well, the Giants thing was a him thing
Yeah.
and not necessarily showing up for, what your kid needs now.
Yeah.
I think a lot of parents also do what I did when I was first a parent. Is I looked at what my dad did,
Yeah.
and I just did the opposite. He left, I stayed. So he didn't come to things. I went to things. But after a while, that knee jerk, doing the opposite doesn't work either.
Yeah.
Because that's not really creating what the kids are in the moment with.
Yeah.
Being
Yeah.
present has always been the toughest thing for me personally. Again, I've only got, anger and suppressed anger is my emotion base. And so trying to be present and be there for what they actually need
Yeah.
in each moment is the hardest thing for me. And I've told them from the get-go, I'm like, Daddy's going to mess up a lot.
Yeah.
I have no good template for this. I'm going to do the best that I can. And I wish my parents had been more open about that. Like, yeah, we don't know what we're doing either. There's nobody came and told us, hey, this is how it works, you know, and we're doing our best. Doing our best. And sometimes we make bad choices.
Yeah.
Like I made the choice early on that the kids could watch Eddie Izzard, one of my favorite comedians.
Yeah.
But unedited.
Oh, yeah.
And Eddie swears a lot.
Yes.
And so we're talking about like 10 and 8. And, you know, he's just swearing. And I'm like, okay, look, kids, here's the rule.
Yeah.
Okay. You can say fuck, but it has to be funny. And I'm not saying that was bad, but it probably wasn't great.
Probably not the best.
Probably not the best.
Right?
But at the same time, I was like, but this is a funny person. This is also a very interesting person who's living life on their terms.
Yeah.
And that's somebody to aspire to be. And
Yeah.
little did I know.
Yeah.
You know, now, you know, Eddie is trans.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I guess I was very on the mark. Yeah,
Yeah.
me.
There you
Who
go.
knew?
I think they've changed their name now since then.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
But they've also said that Eddie is fine
Okay.
when referring to them, and I can never remember their new name. So
Okay.
I did double check that I
there
can
you go.
still say it.
There you go. Yes.
And they go by they. Yep.
But something you spoke to just before that, though, I think is something we speak to a lot on this podcast, which is just like as parents, the acknowledging of, I'm going to mess up. I'm not perfect. Like, it's going to happen. But I want to do my best. I'm going to do the best I can with the tools I'm given. And how you recover as a parent, I think, is everything, honestly. Like, I mean, to acknowledge the mess up, this is kind of what I'm sorry, this is what I'm going to do differently moving forward. So let's make the correction, make the adjustment, acknowledge it, and we can move forward. So yeah, like I think that's such an important thing with parenting is like the self-awareness of no one's perfect. I'm going to mess up. I'm going to step in it. I just want to make sure we all have grace with each other and being able to acknowledge it, have a conversation about it that's full of transparency and love, and we can move forward in a positive direction and recover well. I think that's such a big thing.
Well, your line in one of your specials, I forget what it is, where everything is 1 to 10 or 1 to 9.
Oh,
and
yeah,
it's all
yeah,
just a
it's
bunch
all
of ones.
and tens.
It's all
Yep.
ones and tens.
Yep.
You know, so it's all the extremes all the time.
Yeah.
Especially, you know, growing. And it becomes less and less of that. But that's still our job is to navigate all of that,
All of it.
you know, and the in-betweens as well.
Absolutely.
Say my last question. What have your kids taught you about authenticity?
Well, like I was saying about being
Yeah.
present and about
Yeah.
being here in the moment. I've always been, because I'm ADHD and you know, all that stuff as well. So being present and not thinking about 37 different things all at once.
Yeah.
You know, the phrase I use is a lot of people, they have like trains of thought. And I just have like a pinball game of thought. I don't really know where it's going to go next. And I just kind of, oh, that's where I am now.
Yeah.
Bang, bing, bing, bing.
Yep.
You know, bright, shiny things. And so trying to be present and be aware of what's going on and paying attention to them is the hardest thing for me and the most important thing as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's when they feel the most seen. It's when they feel the most heard. And my kids are great. My kids are fantastic. And they've only soared higher
Yeah.
after they have come out
Beautiful. I love that.
with understanding who they are in life. And I love who they are. I think they're both amazing people.
Oh, yeah.
My oldest just got back from doing a thing in Paris and called me, and we talked about Paris because I had been, you know, when I was younger, and you know, we spent a half an hour just talking about that.
That's
And
amazing.
That's the great stuff that you get.
Yeah.
You know, when in your 30s and 28s and stuff like that, is now these are just out and about people just living their lives, and,
Oh, yeah.
and you get to have this relationship with them
Yeah.
now.
That's awesome.
So seeing them in these better places and watching them grow more and more into the people that they are, it's the same as any parent.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
there's maybe a twist with mine, I guess.
Right.
But is it really? It's not.
Yeah.
It's the same.
Well, and I think it speaks so much about what you and your wife have like put together for them as a safe space, as confidants, as, you know, not just parents, but like trusting you with everything and wanting to call you when things are exciting things happen and everything like that. And so it speaks a lot of the space that you've held for them throughout their life and to now, of them wanting to talk about Paris for 30 minutes and everything like that. And so that's
nice.
Huge.
Right.
It is huge.
Because that doesn't happen with all, families.
No,
Yeah.
it doesn't.
So,
And I will also own up to, I've also been the scariest person in their lives.
okay.
Because I was the one who would, like, a lot of rage, a lot of suppressed rage, that I had to work through.
Yeah.
And so, that was something that we had to work through. I'm so fortunate
Yeah.
that we all stuck together and we worked through some stuff, and then I went to counseling, and I was on meds for a while, and now they're in counseling and they're doing their thing, and
Beautiful.
it hasn't been easy. And that's something else I wish somebody else had said. Like, oh no, this is going to be a madhouse for you too, not just the kids. Like, you're still growing up. Like, I got married when I was 22, and so they were born when I was 28,
Okay.
30, like right about the age they are now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but they're babies still. How was I having, you guys are so young. I'm like, what? You're having babies? Why are you having babies? Stop it. You're this little. Stop it. Are you still in school? Go finish your report. And so, now that I'm 57, I'm like, wait a bit. But at the other hand, like, do it now while you can still pick them up.
This is true. That's true.
Otherwise, you get that bad back at 40, you're not picking anything up.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
So,
Well, John, we appreciate
Yeah, thank you so
that
much.
Thanks.
that you came on the podcast.
I don't know if I am any help. I think
You are.
You were.
I think I am both like a role model and a cautionary tale at the same
Right.
time. Like, yeah, don't do it. Well, I don't know. Find your own path.
Yeah.
I found a path. You can find a path. I think that's the
Exactly.
takeaway. Is if I can find a path, anybody can find
Anybody
a path.
can
There
do
you
it.
go.
Yes.
And anybody, as long as you just love your kids.
Yes.
I love that.
100%.
It's a good note to go
100%.
out on.
Go ahead and let people know where they can follow you online and anything you want to promote coming up.
Instagram, Stepdad of Comedy is the thing, and I'm going to be recording my first special after doing comedy for 10 years.
Yeah.
At Barrelproof Lounge in Santa Rosa. Going to do that. It's going to be called Stepdad of Comedy because I'm going all in on the branding.
As you should be.
do
Branding's
it.
important. Well, John, we
Listen.
appreciate you and the space you take up, and appreciate all of y'all for watching. Sound off in the comments if you have any questions, comments, or concerns or anything like that, and we'll do our best to answer them. Thank you so much for watching and listening. I'm Myles Weber,
I'm Heather Weber.
and we'll see y'all next time.
Bye.